Well, it's a great pleasure that we have here with us Hannes Minnaar from the Netherlands, a wonderful pianist who will be coming to Hong Kong to give two concerts. The first one consisting of the 24 Preludes and Fugues by Shostakovich, and the second concert will be Beethoven's fourth piano concerto, but not as we know it. So it's going to be very, very exciting. So welcome to the Muse Concert Series, Hannes.
Thank you very much.
So maybe we just begin with a simple but profound question. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a little bit of porridge, which was left because my children love it, and there was just not enough for me. And then I had one sandwich with peanut butter.
Oh, that sounds very good. Very, very healthy, or not. Anyway, so it's great that we have you here, and we're looking forward to your two concerts with us. In a way, you're kind of living the dream because, as a fairly young person, you kind of made it into the world of being a concert pianist, which is really very, very hard. Was that always a dream that you had?
It certainly was, yeah. Actually, I didn't have any idea what to expect to be a concert pianist, but I knew as long as I could hear music, I was always fascinated by music. I started to play the piano. I couldn't stop, and then I thought, well, this is what I want to do.
So you're natural. You're born to be a pianist.
Yes. Well, I also dreamt of being on stage, although my main dream was just to play and to discover music and to learn about composers, discover new music, actually.
And I mean, was there a kind of lucky break for you, something that really sort of helped you get into that world? Because it's really hard.
Yes, absolutely. For me, it was the Queen Elisabeth Competition in 2010. I won a third prize. And that really had a huge impact because, well, the Queen Elisabeth Competition takes place in Brussels, obviously, and it's not so far from the Netherlands. The Netherlands are a very small country, so that it hardly happens that a Dutchman gets to the finals. So I got many invitations. by all of the Dutch orchestras, and it gave me many opportunities to build a public.
Well, I think they were just shocked that a Dutch-speaking person would win a competition in Brussels, where you could be French-speaking, right? So that's great.
Yeah.
So you kind of excited the public, I guess, in the Netherlands. So what did you, I mean, you had to then, do a whole series of concerts after that? Well, that was the making of your career, because they would have set up as your prize many concert and recitals?
Yeah, well, I got just invitations for all kinds of pieces that I had dreamt of, which I had never prepared. For example, the third Rachmaninoff concerto, the Chopin concertos, most of the Beethoven concertos I had not even... Well, I had touched them, but I never learned them during my studies because I was just not prepared to be
a concert pianist.
A concert pianist. I was just always practicing and playing the pieces I liked, I found, but somehow I always thought, well, these big standard repertoire, who is going to ask me to play this?
Oh my goodness! So you weren't really prepared to be a concert pianist in a way.
No, but I was very happy about all the possibilities I got, and I all took them. Also, sometimes it felt like a risk, but well, every concert is a risk. So I thought, well, let's grab this, let's go for it, and it made me really happy, I have to say.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, and you have a wonderful repertoire to learn. So in a way, before the Queen Elisabeth competition, you were just learning whatever music you wanted to learn for fun, really.
Yeah, well, of course, my teacher, he also gave me the things you need to learn as a pianist. So I did many of the Chopin etudes. I did some Beethoven sonatas. I did the Beethoven Fifth Piano Concerto. But I always was attracted to things like Shostakovich Preludes and Fugues, like what else? Szymanowski variations, contemporary music. Yeah.
So you knew the Shostakovich before you knew the Beethoven Fourth Piano Concerto. I mean, playing it.
Actually, yeah. I think I started to learn the Shostakovich about 20 years before I played the Beethoven Fourth Concerto for the first time. Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you were learning the Shostakovich? You were still in your teens then.
Yeah, I was. I had just become 15 years old.
Oh my
I
goodness.
remember very well because I did a youth competition for amateurs. I won it, and then I got a masterclass. Well, this is not the right way of putting things, but I at that same time there was a television program in the Netherlands, a long interview with Vladimir Ashkenazi. He spoke about beauty and about solace, I think.
Uh-huh.
And then he played a few fragments from Shostakovich fugues, and I had just started. I think 1 year before I learned my first Preludes and Fugues from the well-tempered clavier by Bach. And this Shostakovich really, I was already a fugue lover because this I remember learning these Bach pieces had a huge impact on me. I never wanted to be far from the score. I think I even took it with me to school classes, and also on holiday I had this score with me. So I had already become a Bach lover, and then I heard these fragments of the Shostakovich fugues, and I thought, well, this is what I need. So the first opportunity I got to buy the score, I went to the shop and I bought it.
Oh wow!
And then I started discovering them.
They are amazing pieces. They really are quite something. I mean, not everybody knows them, but when you start listening to them, they're absolutely extraordinary. And they go very well, actually, with the Bach in a strange way.
They do. Yeah, well, of course, there's the influence of Bach in almost every bar. And still, it's very, very personal, real Shostakovich music. And he goes very far from Bach also. I remember being attracted to the most bizarre of all of the fugues. I think the D flat major, which is almost 12-tone music. It's a theme with 11 tone. It was way too difficult for me. I learned it very slowly, and I even remember putting the score in my music notation program in the computer to see what it would sound like, if it would be in the right tempo.
The concert that you'll give here in Hong Kong is very personal because it comes out of a music that you really absolutely passionately love since 15. But
yes.
you know, for example, playing the Bach 24/48 Preludes and Fugues in a concert is quite a marathon. And when I think about it, wow, that's going to be quite a kind of concert to attend to because it would require so much concentration. And for the pianist, how do you make that into a recital? I mean, is it the same with the Shostakovich 24 Preludes and Fugues? Because it's not always easy to have such a long set for one recital, and you've got to make the whole thing work, right? So do you have a strategy for this, or does it just work so beautifully?
It demands a lot of concentration. Sometimes I have a headache the day after. Well, just because of the concentration. But I think I did a good preparation in learning the Goldberg variations, because I had that same experience. It took me a while to build a concentration for an 80-minute performance without a break, and I think with that I was quite on the way to do something like the Shostakovich. Also for the listener, of course, it's a demanding experience. But in a way, I think after some time you are totally I have witnessed a couple of performances of the Bach well-tempered clavier as a whole, just as a listener, and I really loved it. After some time, you can just not you forget about time, and you are just being absorbed by the music, and you don't want it to ever stop.
It's like a whole
so
universe.
I was actually, yes, yeah, I was actually disappointed when it was finished, and then I thought, well, it should be possible to do this as well with Shostakovich, and I really think it makes sense to play the cycle as a whole, because somehow it builds, and it's not just 1 + 1 is 2, or 1 + 1 + 1, etc. is 24, but it's so much more if you have the experience of this complete universe that it
is a universe, and it does build towards that final massive fugue, that sort of epic fugue. But in a way, it's slightly easier than listening to the Bach, because it's a world with many, many different objects in it, a very Shostakovich world. It does have Shostakovich with all his facets. I always think, one thing that I think characterizes these Preludes and Fugue, and maybe he gets this from Bach, is a very strong sense, I don't know how to put it, of spirituality. There's something that is very transcendent about this. He's trying to write a music that is transcending the everyday in a way, and bring you to some kind of a religious type of experience, in some sense. Very Bachian.
I have that feeling. Of course, he composed it in a very secular place, but Bach, any music by Bach himself is religious, and also I think Bach himself is sort of religion for all of the musicians.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
Bach is a sort of god of the composers.
Yes, yeah, especially his fugues, right?
So it feels also a bit as well. Some of these pieces are a sort of prayer to the great Bach, perhaps.
Yeah, even the opening, right? It has that sense. The first fugue, the C major, and not the fugue, the Prelude and Fugue, has that sense of almost a religious procession when you come in. That kind of rhythm. You're coming in, and it's very, very calm, but very much as if you were in a kind of sanctuary of some kind.
Yeah, you know where he got the opening from?
No.
The opening of the first prelude is exactly the same rhythm as one of the pieces of the album For the Young by Tchaikovsky.
Ah, really?
Which I think was the first piece Shostakovich himself played in public as a child.
Oh.
And it's called Morning Prayer.
Ah, right. Well, there we go. It's a prayer.
The piece by Tchaikovsky in what opus number is it? 39, 78? I'm not completely sure. But this piece by Tchaikovsky is called Morning Prayer, and Shostakovich copies exactly the same rhythm in the first measures, in the first bars.
Do you think Shostakovich, at that time, this would be the 1950s, would be writing these preludes and fugues as a kind of comfort or solace or consolation for his own times, because they were hard for him?
Yes. It's a bit speculative, of course. We don't know. But I could very well imagine this sort of, he gave him... it worked for him, perhaps also psychologically. It did him well. I could imagine.
Yeah, I think it came about...
Comfort. That's the word I was looking for. Beauty and comfort.
Comfort. A kind of consolation.
The television program.
For the Ashkenazi. Yes, the comfort. Yes.
Yeah.
Beauty. Well, I think there is a lot of comfort here. I mean, in this sense of consolation, right? Of a kind of because fugues always speak of a certain order of things that should be there.
They can be abstract sometimes, but I think there's a lot of feeling in the Shostakovich fugues.
Yes, and they came
also in Bach.
Yeah. And I mean, these fugues came about as a result of him going to Leipzig, right? At a I think it was a competition. A piano competition.
Yeah, that was a Bach competition. It was in 1950, so exactly 200 years after the death of Bach. There was a big piano competition in Leipzig, and he was, I think, he was the chairman of the jury, and they all had to play a prelude and fugue from the well-tempered clavier, wohltemperiertes clavier.
Yes.
And the winner was a Russian lady, Tatiana Nikolaeva.
Yes.
She could play all of them by heart. So she asked the jury, which one do you want to hear?
I once met Tatiana Nikolaeva many years. Yes, because many years ago now. And she was extraordinary because she's a very small, at that time, she was a very small and fairly old lady with, white hair all bunched up at the back and seemed very unassuming. But the moment you get her down to play the piano, she's dynamite. I mean, she's the most powerful pianist I could imagine. And it's unusual coming from that very diminutive frame that she had. And what I always remember is that she was playing a Bach fugue from the end, I think, of a partita. And she played every single note of the theme with every single finger of her right hand. She was just pounding it out like this. And to me, that is a very Nikolaeva, but also a very Russian sound, because it's that very full, deep, bell-like sound that, she and all these Russians get out of their pianos, right? And you can hear that sound in these Preludes and Fugues. You can hear, because Shostakovich wrote it actually for her, these Preludes and Fugues, and she did the premiere in Moscow. But you can hear that very deep Russian sort of piano sound in all this music.
There is this music. Well, it contains everything, but it is deeply Russian also. As Shostakovich was a Russian, of course.
Yes.
There are so many references, as I mentioned, to Tchaikovsky, but there's also some Mussorgsky-like passages, and there's a lot of Russian Orthodox chant. There's one fugue which really sounds like as if it could be a Russian children's song, or there's so many.
Which one is that? Which is the one that sounds like a children's song?
Well, I don't know if there's actually a children's song like this, but it has a bit this atmosphere. That's the A flat major.
Ah, right. Yeah, and the other ones that sound like Russian folk songs or Russian some kind of folk dance, right? That you get that you might imagine on the steppes of, I don't know, Central Asia somewhere.
Yes. There's also Jewish music in it.
Yes.
And of course lots of Bach. So it's a very broad, but still a very personal range.
Yes, and there's even what I think is a very Shostakovich kind of style, a very sort of parodistic waltz. I guess it's almost like one of those Marlowe waltzes where it's almost about to sort of go into some sort of dysfunctional dance. But it's amazing to hear all this kind of music in the Shostakovich. Do you have any highlights in these 24, that particular fugues or preludes that you think, wow, this is just my favorite. I love to play this, and the listener should really get hold of this?
Well, actually, many. There are many highlights. Well, I already mentioned this obsessive number. Which number is it? 15 in D flat major.
Oh, the D flat major fugue with it's almost like a Johann Schoenberg's 12-tone composition. 11 tones, but we'll just not give you the 12th one.
Absolutely, but that's sometimes in the middle, and also at the end he squeezes it in a very tonal, like 5/1.
Yes, because these are supposed to be produced in fugues in different keys or different modes, and so if you're going to do a serial technique, it's so anti-tonal that and it's supposed to be in D flat, right? Or so he has to go D flat, D flat, D flat.
Yeah, very much. But by total contrast, for example, number 7. is very pure. The theme consists only of broken chords.
Oh, this is the A major, the A major fugue?
The A major, yes.
Yes.
Yes, and it's so it feels like a sunny morning.
Actually, it's odd. It doesn't even sound like a fugue in many ways. Right? You feel these broken chords, these sort of like arpeggios, little arabesques.
Yes.
And yet the whole thing creates this very euphonous sounding fugue. It was almost like being, I don't know, underwater in this kind of A major underwater swim.
Yeah.
But the C major also is very pure. The first fugue. There are no black notes, right?
It is completely without any accidental. So he obviously had this concept, like it's C major, it should be just the white keys of the piano. And it does work. It makes a very pure, very serene impression.
Yes.
And then the second one is, by contrast, very, very biting. And I think he wrote that already in the 30s, because in the 1930s already, at some point he started composing fugues in all of the keys, but he stopped after the third one. And I think that this one in A minor is the only one that he kept, and he put it in his cycle. So this is the only one to be composed.
Yes,
a bit before, and it's still in the style of the first piano concerto, very humoristic, ironic, bitey, and
yes, and fast.
Fast also, yeah.
And also, I mean, there are preludes and fugues that are very sad. I mean, it has that kind of Russian lament about it. Like, very, very beautiful, actually, as well.
They this is one of the sort of themes that return during the cycle. There's a lot of sadness.
Yes, a lot of sadness, but very beautiful, haunting sadness that is there.
Yes,
yeah.
I have to say it's very. It is really beautiful, but it can be depressing also. I remember when I did the recording, when I had to listen to the edits, and I had to listen over and over. It really made me it almost made me depressive, being so much into. But it's not the only thing. It is a returning element in the cycle. But then, for example, number 23 actually is one of the real highlights for me. The semi-last.
What key is that one in? 23. Yes, that would...
F in F major.
F major. Yes.
Which is a very slow, broad adagio, almost as if it's taken from a Mahler or a Bruckner symphony. And it's such a broad. It feels actually like the conclusion of the piece. Like he finds sort of rest.
It's a kind of open space.
All the turbulence of the things before. It can be one of the emotional high points. Of course, in every recital, there are different... It works differently, actually, in every recital. But this sometimes really feels like the emotional... And then you get this monumental conclusion of the 24th in D minor. Yeah.
But there are also some fugues that are... I think you mentioned once that it's really heartbreaking kind of music that you hear, or it's just... something that is very moving in that sense. I think you're talking about the B-flat minor fugue.
There's a lot. Yes, yeah. There's lots of loneliness. Of course, fugues always start lonely.
Yes, but they get friends eventually.
But yeah, but especially, for example, this B flat minor is one of the most intimate, and it's sort of inner voice singing like a bird, but in a very it's a bit like Was so triest by Ravel. It's a very sad bird with some very free arabesque-like theme. Yeah, and then in the end, at the very end, he goes to B flat major, just for a single while, and it feels like it's actually not like a happy end, but it feels like, I don't know, as a Schubert major sometimes can.
Yes,
can
what we call a Schubert.
like
It's got that bittersweet
Yes.
experience at the end.
Yeah,
It's just amazing.
It's perhaps only a little hope, but not absolutely not more than hope.
A tiny glimmer on the horizon, perhaps.
Yes,
That kind of thing. No,
yes,
it's just
that's it,
amazing.
yeah.
Well, I really look forward to this recital because, we're basically listening, as we said, to this extraordinary Shostakovich universe. I mean, all his different expressions are already contained in these 48 preludes and fugues. It's quite amazing.
And also, the one thing I really feel also with these pieces, the total of the recital is long, but it contains of very short pieces. Actually, it feels like fragments from his musical diary.
Yeah, they do. It's episodic in that sense, right? It's like a diary, and he did write them very fast.
Yes, only in 3.5 months, I think.
Yes, and some of the
it's very spontaneous music, and
Yes. Especially some of the preludes. You do have this sense that he's almost not. I mean, he's not really improvising, but there's a sense of improvisation.
It gives that feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's a very free music. It's very beautiful. So I think that's going to be a treat for everyone to listen to that amazing set. And it's not every day that you can hear them all in one go. So I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. And then the next day, you're going to give a different concert, Beethoven's Fourth Piano Concerto, but not as we know it. Tell us a little bit about this version of the Fourth Piano Concerto.
Yeah, there is a very interesting chamber music version for piano solo with string quintet instead of the complete orchestra, and that fits so well to the piece because of all of the Beethoven concertos, this is the most chamber music-like piece, and actually, this arrangement, it might even have been played by Beethoven himself. At least it originates in his time, since the manuscript, one of the manuscripts we have is in the handwriting of one of his own copyists. So it might have been a student of Beethoven who made it, and we don't know. But there is some touch of originality on it. It's and authenticity. It's very well done. It's with 2 violas, and I
very
love
unusual. Yeah, no, it's like in the days before we could play records or CDs or downloads and stream music. If you were going to play music, a piano concerto in your home, this is what you did, right? You'd have an arrangement, a chamber music arrangement.
Yes.
But as you say, it works amazingly well because the Fourth Piano Concerto is chamber-like in so many ways.
Yeah. And it was done in Beethoven's time, also, I think, by himself. I think at the home of this Prince Lobkowitz, who he dedicated some of the pieces to. They did these kinds of performances. Also with the Chopin concertos, actually. We know that Chopin has played his own concerti sometimes in a chamber musical setting.
Yes, because you can't just afford to bring an orchestra into your home. It's very expensive, even for a prince, to do that.
Or if your home is too small, or but especially in the case of this fourth concerto, I think it really fits.
No, I always think
really
of the fourth.
Music. So it's not.
Yeah.
It is not only a concession.
No, it isn't. It works really well. I mean, and with 2 violas, I think it works well too, because I always think of the Fourth Piano Concerto as a very sort of mellow, resonant kind of piano concerto. It's not kind of trying to be brilliant. It's not trying to be, overextend the orchestra, even though it has amazing orchestration. But it has that extraordinary string sound. And the bit I love the most about the fourth piano concerto is in the final movement. There's a bit where I think there's four solo cellos play. And they create this very interesting sound. And that's the sort of sound that this particular chamber arrangement produces.
Is that perhaps that little canon in the violas, perhaps?
No, it's I think solo cellos. It's several cellos playing, but yes, but it's in the arrangement is done on the violas and the cello, and it produces that very rich middle of the range sound, which is really the timbre of the fourth piano concerto more than any of the other Beethoven piano concertos. And you say it's very chamber-like. So what is it like then playing this piece as chamber music? I mean, is it any different from playing it, with the vast orchestra and the trumpets and the timpani and the woodwinds?
It shouldn't be different, actually, because of course, very often if you play a piano concerto with a large symphony orchestra, still the ideal is to make chamber music.
I see.
I think to do it together. Well, sometimes not together, but apart from fighting to each other. But which is also you need to have. There should be communication. That's of course the essence of chamber music. But this is also the ideal if you play with an orchestra.
Right, but of course in this version you don't need a conductor to help you to get that coordination because the fourth is quite hard to coordinate.
It is, and of course the woodwinds are always terribly far away. And then the piano is put in a way that your sound goes to the audience. So sometimes they hardly hear you. You really need a conductor with a symphony orchestra. And in this version, it's a bit smaller, more direct, perhaps.
Yeah, in a way, you're kind of hearing it as chamber music. So in a way, you kind of hear the inner ideal of what a performance of this concerto may be like, right? Hearing it in this, I guess, as a kind of sextet with piano and 5-string instruments.
Yes.
We always forget how extraordinary Beethoven's Fourth Piano Concerto is because we're so familiar with it. But actually, I think of all the piano concertos in the entire world, this is the most peculiar piano concerto. It's just unique in many ways. I mean, what are your feelings about this particular piece that makes this piece so extraordinary and so unique?
It has a very specific, a unique character, I would say, which sounds a bit contradictional. It's because it is very intimate in a way, but at the same time, there's so much inner power.
There's a kind of inner strength.
Yes,
but it's not something that it's something with the Eroica Symphony or the Emperor Concerto. It's all out there, right? It's like
yes.
I'm the heroic Promethean guy, but the fourth has the same heroic strength, but no show.
Yeah. Well, and it's sort of symbiosis of inner strength and intimacy, but somehow it goes very well together, and it's rather unique. That perhaps only the second Brahms concerto gives me a bit that same feeling.
Yes.
Of course, there is also some show but perhaps in Beethoven's fourth there is brilliance.
Yes, I mean there's a lot of finger. I mean there's a lot of virtuosity. I mean there's a lot of that.
Yeah, but actually not an actual show.
And that's the interesting thing, right? It seems that it should have because it's so difficult and all this stuff. But at the same time, I would say it's not a flashy piece. It's not a piece where you can kind of show off your technical brilliance in a way.
Yeah, well, if you have earlier Beethoven, of course, he was known first as a pianist, as a brilliant pianist, with all these variations, and there's so much show. Well, in a good sense, but he's so inventive and it's so brilliant. And then later on, when he really got, he wanted to be a composer of deep music, and in this in this piece, you really feel that he is, well, not more a composer than a pianist, but it's difficult to.
Well, I know what you mean because I mean the
It's
first
everything.
movement. Yeah, the first movement is very long. I mean, it's a very long first movement. It's a little bit like his the first movement of his violin concerto. So there's nothing really showy about it. It's moving at a. It's not fast, but it's not slow. You know, so it's kind of very moderate. But in all that moderation, all that control, he's creating these massive harmonic spaces. I mean, they're really long. And you have, as a pianist, as a musician, as a composer, right, you have to keep all this music together somehow. I think this is the inner strength that you're talking about. Somehow Beethoven creates that inner tension that holds these very long trajectories together. And he's composing a piece of music that, I don't know, 15 minutes, right, in the first movement. Very complicated, extremely complicated music. But somehow it's absolutely composed without any force, as it were. I mean, that's the amazing thing about the first movement.
I totally agree.
And the second movement, that's also totally extraordinary. Nothing like it on the planet.
That's completely unique. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
How do you deal with that piece? Because in a way, that is a movement that has nothing to do with technique or virtuosity. I mean, on the pianist's part. I mean, when you play that, what you need to get across is something that is deeply musical.
What to say?
It's too sublime. It's ineffable. It's ineffable music.
No, it's it's the music about big contrasts, of course. Well, it's really the not even the piano against the orchestra against the piano, actually, because the orchestra is loud.
Yes.
And angry, perhaps even aggressive. And the piano is very, almost shy, actually, with the left pedal being used for all of the piece, apart from only one moment.
So it's a muffled soft pedal sound.
Yes, almost shy, very introvert and lonely, actually. So I always feel as if the orchestra is trying to attack me or something.
Scary music.
And then, well, yeah. Oh, it's difficult to speak about it because.
Well, because it is almost a piece where it's so extraordinary, and so in one sense very simple, but yet somehow he manages to create an extraordinary sense of I don't know. I don't know what to say either. It's a kind of transcendent,
dramatic epic.
Yeah,
it's sort of there's so much drama in this piece, and also when the piano part goes higher and higher, and eventually it goes to this very high G, that feels so desperate.
You see, it's leaving us speechless already, just talking about it. Yeah, no, it's one of those types of pieces. But the last movement, of course, brings us back down to earth in a way. It's definitely heroic, but again, as I said, it's not heroic in the normal, glorious, triumphant sense. No, it's not the end of the Fifth Symphony or the end of the Emperor Concerto type of that we normally associate with Beethoven. It's a very different characterization of heroism.
There's a lot of joy in it, and also lightness.
Yes,
I think humor, perhaps, and perhaps also relief. But also this is very diverse. There are the more heroic passages as well, but not just. But it's not a triumphant finale. It's also unique. Actually, a bit like in the second Brahms concerto. Also, the finale has this lightness and this sparkle, and psychologically, it's very inventive and very well done, I think.
Yes, and it weaves in a lot of lyricism into the music as well. I mean, there are moments where it's really, I wouldn't say it's a slow movement, but it has that kind of lyrical phrasing that you have. And then just, as I said, my favorite bit with those cellos, and then, but also amazing, I think, just amazing scales, because sometimes Beethoven can write the most simple things, and I mean just scales, but somehow
He creates-
he creates the most transcendent music from nothing, it seems.
I have to think about the coda of the first movement after the cadenza. Also, it's just scales and it's glorious.
Yes, it is beautiful. It is like you're almost in that realm of late Beethoven already, even though it's a kind of middle period thing. Well, I think it's going to be an extraordinary performance with hearing it with the five string players and you. And it's going to be a new hearing for many of us, I think, of the Fourth Piano Concerto. It's already a unique piece, but this kind of more unusual arrangement, I think, will bring out that extraordinary quality of the music even more. So I really look forward to that concert. Is there anything you want to tell the audience as they look forward to these two recitals? No.
Well, I speak with my fingers.
Yes. Watch my fingers.
No. Well, no, not watch my fingers, but I mean, what do I wish to? I wish to tell the music.
I know exactly what you mean because when you play, I mean, this, and I'm not trying to flatter you, but when you do play, the music does speak. And in a way, I know you're putting a lot of yourself into it, but sometimes people can put a lot of themselves into it to make themselves speak. But for definitely, when I hear your playing of the Fourth Piano Concerto and the Shostakovich, I can hear the music definitely speaking.
Oh well, that's the biggest compliment I could get. This is exactly, of course, what I strive for, to let the music speak.
Well, it does. It works.
And it has something to say.
Yes, it does. And I'm really grateful that you are doing that and that you, I'm sure, will do that when you come to Hong Kong. So thank you so much for spending this time.
I'm greatly looking forward. Thank you very much.
It's just a pleasure talking to you and having so much insight into how you understand these pieces and what you're going to do in May when you come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.